Hi, thank you for joining us at the inaugural 2024 One Question series. My name is Jules McKean and I run the global media practice for Odgers Berndtson Executive Search out of London. And I'm delighted to be joined on this sunny, early day in the year by Claire Tavernier. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
Claire is Chair and Non-Executive Director in the UK media sector, and many of you will already know her, I'm sure. She works in organisations across both commercial and not-for-profit, and she chairs the Film and TV Charity and Charity Digital, as well as advising Unbound Publishing. Claire was previously on the board of the BBFC, and she's a music tech trailblazer at Instrumental, with a rich executive career in global TV, including senior roles at Fremantle and Shine. Claire now also co-hosts, to be honest, much more professional podcast than mine called The Media Beat. So anyone who's fed up with me listening to me certainly should check out The Media Beat. It's a lot more professional. And she's particularly proud of having produced, and I have to ask her about this, the Friskies, which is the first and last Internet Cat Video Awards. Claire, you're going to talk to us about what reasons we've got to be cheerful, but of course set against the backdrop we can't avoid of 2024. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Wilson. Thanks for that intro. Yes, you said reasons to be cheerful. It can be a little bit doom and gloom at the moment, our industry. And by our industry, I mean the TV and film and media industry as a whole. 2023 has been a tough year. We've had the Hollywood strikes, which have had a really big impact, especially on the UK production market. And I'm, obviously globally, but I'm thinking specifically with my film and TV charity hat about the UK. This is on top of the cost of living crisis. This is on top of coming out of the pandemic. And now what we're having is, because of higher interest rates, all of the people who have been spending a lot of money on content, all the big streamers are spending much less money on content. And I've got a stat here. In 2022, there were 633 shows released across all streaming platforms. And last year was 481. And a lot of this was due to the strike. But it's not just a strike. There is a general sense from all this, and now I'm talking about the US streamers, that they're contracting their commissioning. We all know that the broadcasters in the UK are struggling. It's tough being in this industry right now. So reasons to be cheerful? There still are really good reasons to be cheerful. And I'm happy to say, and I actually we've just finished the BAFTA season for the UK, and the BAFTAs were last night. You can work out what that means in terms of dates. And it has been such an incredible year for cinema and for television, I think. In cinemas, we've had movies, we've had Oppenheimer, obviously, and Barbie, but also Poor Things. We've had The Zone of Interest. We've had All of Us Strangers. We've had Anatomy of a Fall. And I think all of these movies, and I'm forgetting a lot of them, all of these movies have something in common, which I love, which is none of them could have been written by AI. None of them could have been made by AI. They're all so original. They all have such a strong voice and such a strong creative energy. And they run the gamut of budgets. It's not about how much money you make. There were some very small budget movies like Rye Lane, which was such a delight last year. And I think it's very life affirming to see that even in a context of difficult times and difficult economic situation, or perhaps because of the context, you create this incredibly beautiful, original, not a sequel, not part of a universe, not some big franchise, all of them original works. So, and this is movies, but in television we've had the Mr. Bates against the Post Office, which was tremendous. But entertainment, we've had The Traitors. We're seeing some really new, exciting formats coming up. And I just think, this old, tired medium of visual art is still up there and kicking and doing some pretty exciting things. So those are my reasons to be cheerful.
That's brilliant. I wonder also about this sort of evolving role of social within this. I was listening to something the other day about who first came up with the Barbieheimer or Barbenheimer idea of putting them, you would never have put them AI wouldn't have put them together. That was an entirely human thing about seeing the two of them at the cinema. They don't fit together in a natural way at all. And that's what makes it sort of wonderfully, chaotically human, that people would go and put one head on and go and watch Barbie and put another head on and go and watch Oppenheimer at the same time. And I do also think, I was speaking to, in my last one just before Christmas, with the wonderful Nigel Newton, CBE, the founder of Bloomsbury Books, who gave me a prediction about one of his authors, Sarah J. Maas, who's an incredibly popular sort of fantasy fiction author. And she is now this weekend all over the press for having broken all of these incredible kind of sort of social book talk kind of adoption from people from a grassroots perspective. And I do see the new generation. I wonder if you see that might happen a little bit more, that sort of, there's so much content in social out there that actually younger generations going to real editors, not influencers in the traditional way that the generation up used to go to, but people who are really showing the joy of original content and bringing that to people on TikTok and other platforms. That might help, perhaps.
Yeah, I think discovery. I mean, this isn't a new trend, but it's getting stronger. Discovery, because we've lost, the TV schedule, to be honest, and also newspapers, has become incredibly difficult. How do you know what to watch? You used to have two ways of knowing what to watch. Either you would switch on the TV at 9 p.m. and whatever was there, you'd watch it, or you would open the papers at the weekend and it would tell you exactly what to watch the next week. And those were the two ways that people would know what to watch. And that has gone. And so people have had to come up with different ways. And the creativity, as you say, has been fantastic. Social has been brilliant. But what I think is really interesting in this new discovery world is what is being discovered. Some of it is new and some of it is old.
Yeah,
there's been this incredible renaissance of old songs. My kids are going around going like, do you know Fleetwood Mac? I'm like, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Vaguely heard of them. Thank you very much. Or, if you look at the top 10 shows streamed last year in 2023, it's all old shows. It's in Suits, has had a massive resurgence. People are still watching Friends. People are watching these shows that were popular 10 years ago and just going, you know what, I'm discovering them for the first time, and that's brilliant. I'm watching Loudermilk at the moment on Netflix, which is what, 7, 8 years old now, but suddenly it has become this big new thing. So I find that quite interesting, that this discovery doesn't always favor new things, that there is still space for shows that were made and perhaps overlooked a few years ago and are now being rediscovered.
Yes, it's really interesting. Asha Tala on our RTS predictions panel a couple of weeks ago from Rough Cut made the same point about Big Boys, for example. Of course, he's a producer behind things like The Office and the IT Crowd, but Big Boys is sort of the third series, I think, now, and then people are going back and they're visiting for the first time the first couple of series, and I think perhaps that's where social can play a really interesting role, and certainly with Saltburn did it very with its clips.
Forgot about Saltburn. Yes.
How many of the clips my 13-year-old has seen that he tells me not to watch.
Yes.
He's not allowed to watch the actual program. So from in your mind, Claire, obviously you're right at the forefront of what trends are impacting on the industry this year. But it sounds like you have a slight cautious optimism that there might be bits of creativity and originality able to creep through the gaps of this commercially challenging environment?
Well, I'd like to think so. So I have a slightly cynical view of the world, which is it's never good to have too much money. And I do think there was too much money in television over the last 3 or 4 years. Television, especially movies, a little bit, which meant, which meant that, shows that could have been 6 episodes were 8 episodes, because why not? You had the budget. And something had to be, costed at 100 million an ep. And so you'd make the numbers, because why not? You had the budget. And so you'd had those lavishly beautiful shows. But I think my personal theory is that creatives work best with constraints, and that the the most creative things happen in constrained circumstances. And I mean, this is a way of looking at glass. I realize this is a glass half full kind of thing, because nobody likes it when there's less money and people are suffering. Freelancers are finding it very hard. I'm not suggesting that we're in a good place with the industry, but in terms of creativity and creating the space for new voices to be able to tell their stories, I am hoping that smaller budgets, that a little bit more focus, may actually give us some really interesting things. And I'm hoping that the movies and the TV shows that we've seen in this last cycle are a sign that we are moving away from what was a very, very risk-averse way of looking at commissioning, which, is understandable, because if you are going to spend $100 million per episode, you want somebody at the helm who's worked with those kind of budgets before. You're not going to give it to a first-timer.
Yeah.
But then it becomes very difficult to be that first-timer. So, there might be, I'm very much hoping there will be good things coming out of this.
Well, Claire, thank you very much for your predictions and general optimism, because we all know it's really tough out there, and it's good to sort of be able to look for some chinks of light. And let's hope you're right. And thank you very much for joining us on the One Question podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.